Welcome to the Business Women Australia Podcast Show, the podcast that brings together industry leaders to discuss the latest trends, insights and strategies. So sit back and relax. Let's get inspired by the amazing women who are shaping the future of professional women in Australia. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Welcome everyone to the Business Women Australia Podcast Show. In today's episode, joining me in our virtual studio is the wonderful Helen Nan, founder of Compound Freedom. I'm Lyn Hawkins. I'm the National Director and founder of Business Women Australia. And we welcome you whether you're listening to us live, streaming across Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or if you're in catch-up mode where you might be listening to us on your favourite podcast platform, whether that's Spotify or iTunes, YouTube, or catching up on our website where we also house all our podcast webinars. So we've got a great topic today, thriving in Australia as a migrant professional. And we've got someone with lived experience right in the studio with us. Helen Nan is a certified financial planner. She's got so many degrees that I had to actually pull it up on my phone here because I thought, I'm amazed at how many qualifications you do have, Helen. You're a certified financial planner. You're a Master of Business Administration, MBA, a Master of Accounting. You have a Diploma of Financial Planning, an Advanced Diploma of Financial Planning. You're also accredited in the listed product advisor program and the ethics and professionalism in financial advice. And you're accredited in self-managed super funds. Not only that, Helen speaks 3 languages. She speaks English, Chinese, Mandarin, and Korean. Oh my gosh. Tell us, how did we get to have such an amazing, wonderful human choose to come to Australia? Tell us your migration story, Helen, and some of the challenges that you faced as a migrant professional in Australia.
I came to Australia as an international student almost 20 years ago. And back then, it was popular for Chinese parents to send their children to English-speaking countries such as Australia, America, and UK. And it remains still strong in China today. I also went to see the world and study abroad. Like many Asian parents, my parents expected me to study hard, get a degree, get a secure job, and settle down in Australia. Yeah, of course, there are some challenges along the way. I think the main ones are language, culture, and navigating job markets. English is my 3rd language, so communicating myself effectively in the beginning was hard, and it's still a work in progress. And culture, if you are not born in Australia, there are huge difference between Western and Eastern culture. And I chose to stay with the Australian families to immerse myself in this culture faster instead of staying with people from my own country. But the most difficult part is getting a role you really like and where you can make impact. It took me a few years to land the opportunity I really like, and I sent off almost 200 resumes at that time.
That's a big investment too. I mean, there's a couple of really great things, I think, for some of our listeners who are, young migrants in Australia as professionals or working wherever, thinking about their journey in Australia. Something that really stood out there for me was that you made that decision to immerse yourself into the local culture.
Yeah.
And, that would have been pretty daunting, really, with English, as you say, your 3rd language. And it really is sort of indicative of the sort of adventurous spirit that I think you have, Helen, which not everyone possesses, but it's great advice to those who might be listening to really do immerse yourself into the local culture. One of our board members, Vicky Wu, is really encouraging women in her community, in the Chinese community in Australia, in the business community, to step outside sort of the comfort zone of being amongst other Chinese businesswomen and really get immersed, and maybe even joining Business Women Australia. You know, we want this to be a very multicultural, inclusive, diverse group. And I think that this kind of message is relevant to anyone who is thinking about really forging a pathway of success in a new country, whatever country that might be. So you mentioned, you know, those sorts of things around communication, around culture. What was one of the sort of big cultural differences that you noticed immediately that made it hard, you know, or interesting for you when you first arrived? Can you think of anything that comes to mind that was very different?
I think there are lots of difference. So in Sydney, when I was studying at language school, I stayed with international students for 3 months. And then I moved to Gold Coast and stayed with Australian families. So I stayed with my first homestay family is with a couple in their 40s. So she was a Brazilian and he was Australian. And she became guide, help me through the culture difference, and there are plenty of difference and how we eat and how we talk to other people and how we dress. And at that time I was a young student and still carry lots of culture, Chinese and mixed with Chinese and Korean culture, and still eating Korean spicy cabbage and some other Chinese food. And, it's a little nearly like, some of the food I had, and I didn't really agree. Some of the, some of the way they dress, and she's Brazilian. Sometimes she's just wearing the bikini at home, and at the beginning I was so uncomfortable just looking at she's wearing the bikini and running around at home. But after a few months, and I feel just it's okay, and we keep our difference, but I need to immerse myself in different environments.
Yeah, that's so important to find a mentor, a local mentor. So she provided some mentorship for you around, some of the sort of nuances of the cultural differences, and also being able to see and experience the way that people live. So mind opening, isn't it? And it really does broaden your perspective. I personally love Korean and spicy food. So Helen, I would have loved you to have been in our home and have taught us to increase our repertoire of our meals. So we love Korean and Chinese food. So for those of you who are thinking about how you too might be able to expand your horizons as an Australian living in Australia, think about actually how you potentially could host, some of the students, the international students, and reach out to us if you want any links to those programs, because there's a lot of programs that do to link you up and even pay you some sort of costs associated with hosting international students. So let's get on to some of the tips that you might have for migrants who are settling into the Australian professional world, particularly those like you that have, done a degree and are looking to get into a career in a corporate or a professional firm. Tell us, how did you adapt, and what sort of tips and advice can you share about understanding workplace culture and the expectations?
I think workplace culture is very different. So I worked for the bank as a financial advisor for several years. And in my own country, boss has a huge power and main decision maker. And in Australia, it's different. So I can see how diversity and employee rights are valued at workplace, and the employees are encouraged to take initiative and actively contribute. And the manager is a person you can talk to and can work as a leader and supporter and approachable mentor. So I still remember there was a branch manager at the bank. He's from cultural background where boss is a king and has a huge power. And he managed the branch in a really authoritative way, and he got upset if someone didn't follow exactly what he said and made some mistakes. And he often said things like, do you still want to work here? Several times in a day. And he treated Blunt like his own kingdom. And when he became Blunt manager, he invited his entire family to the Blunt, showing off his own territory. And he got lots of complaints at the end of the day, and he was suspended and eventually got fired at the bank. So this taught me a lot about workplace expectations, including both leadership and employee roles. So in Australia, managers can be seen as a supportive leader and guiding and empowering others, and not just the strict commander. So I think if migrants, or including myself or others, want to be in a management role one day, they need to understand the cultural difference and make sure to be a person who can support their team, not just being a strict boss.
That's correct. It really is a part of the Australian kind of general culture. It's very egalitarian, and very flat structure. And employees thrive when given autonomy and empowerment, particularly young graduates who have learnt so much at university and are dying to start implementing some of their ideas. I remember one of my best bosses at Telstra when I was working there I was a few years out from uni, and I'd done my honours degree in marketing and strategic management. And he was really let me kind of make some mistakes, actually. I did a few things which were quite experimental, by the book, very much around evidence-based kind of implementation around some strategies, and developing some research and testing some different ways in different sales and accounts areas within our region. And it didn't all work to plan. And it was one of the best lessons learned for all of us. And I remember talking to Jim, saying, why did you support me in doing that? Did you know it wasn't going to work? And he said, well, I wasn't 100% sure it was going to work or not work, but we would never have known if you hadn't given it a try. So we've all learnt from this, and I remember thinking, what a great boss. It was, what it taught me was to be a lot more careful and to maybe just do small steps rather than this massive big campaign that I'd done, and be a little bit more careful going forward. But, had it worked, then we would have all known that this does work as well. So that's true. So for those of you who are coming from cultures that are used to a command and control style leadership, just remember, in Australia, it's a lot flatter structure. It's much better to be collaborative in your leadership style, collaborative in your management style. As an employee, don't wait to be told what to do. Start thinking of what can be done. What would you do if you were the decision maker? And bring that to the team and say, hey, I've thought of these ideas. What could we try this? Could we do that? Because that style of operating is often what we're all looking for in our innovation inside organizations, whether it's a bank, a financial institution, an accounting firm. If you've got an idea on how to improve something, don't be afraid to share it with your boss. Helen, so some of the tips on how to expand your professional community too. So it can be quite lonely, being in a new country, starting a new job, starting your career, you've left university. Have you got any tips on networking and building professional relationships in Australia?
Yeah, I think building a network and professional relationship are important. So if you work for corporate environment, I encourage you and attending our workplace functions and gatherings after work. And even it is not your usual activity, or you don't drink alcohol. So in Australia, without drinking alcohol is completely fun and no one will judge. And also, if you attend all these functions and measures, I tend to promote someone they can easy to talk and they feel comfortable around. So it's good for the promotion. And if you're starting your own business, I think networking is super important. And it is really smart way to start networking before you launch your business. Dig your well before you feel thirsty. So I still regret I didn't networking enough before I started my own business. So when I look back, if I did, my business would have grown faster from the start.
That's right. I'm a big believer of networking, as you well know, but also thinking about the type of networking that is really going to be of benefit to you. So, for example, if you've graduated as a financial planner, be around, think about who your ideal client is, where those people actually network. So don't necessarily just go and network with other financial planners. I see this a lot with lawyers and accountants and financial planners. They tend to love to do their networking inside their solo and their industry or their profession. And it really does make sense to get outside there and meet business owners and meet other professionals and join some of the more sort of diverse groups and get involved. Have a spiel. Have a little spiel of things that you've got in your back pocket before you say around conversation starters. Getting other people to talk about themselves is the best way of networking. That's what I find people, if you can say to people, tell me, what was your day like today? What have you got planned for next weekend? Think of a few really great questions that get people talking about themselves, and they will walk away thinking you're a fantastic person, even if you didn't really get the chance of talking to them. Ask them for their contact details before you give yours. That's one thing too, is a lot of Australians don't have business cards anymore. And I think I've noticed some Chinese colleagues of mine think that's quite unusual, because the Chinese culture is very much around, serving the card and really looking at the card and acknowledging and honouring that. And so many Australians just will rather say, I'm on LinkedIn, let's just connect on LinkedIn, and be happy to do that. So make sure you've got your LinkedIn profile up looking professional, detailing your background. If you do speak multiple languages, put that on your LinkedIn profile. Don't hide from who you are. Really be proud of who you are and what brought you here. And so conversation starters are really useful to have, and practicing them on yourself. Even me, at all these hundreds of years, decades and decades of networking, I have to remind myself and ground myself before I arrive anywhere, remind myself to ask other people questions. I'm a chatty person. You know that, Helen. I'm a chatty chatterbox. And I have to remember, when I go somewhere, ask other people questions. Don't tell them all about myself and what I'm doing and try and get them to join Business Women Australia. Just listen to them and think, okay, that's a first step. The next step is to connect on LinkedIn and then potentially stay in contact. If you know there's something of interest to that person, then if you see an article or a bit of research, send them a little thing. Say, hey, I saw this and I thought of you. This might be an interesting article for you. That's a really nice gift to build a professional friendship before you even start thinking about whether or not there's a potential to work together. So are there any other sort of tips on that sort of professional relationship building that you've found really useful, Helen, in your own experience?
After I started my own business, I attended all the different kind of networking events, including Business in Australia and BNI and BX. And like what you said, and you need to be a really good listener and ask them, it's about other people first, and before you're talking about yourself. And I think that's a really good tip you can give to others. And also just genuinely interested in others and get to know each other, and instead of try to sell something from the very beginning.
That's right. It's about those three things: getting to know you first, getting to like you, and getting to trust you. And it takes time, and it takes an investment in time as well. If you hear that someone's interested in, maybe they're a real estate agent, and you can say, well, maybe we should go together to a different type of event together, because I can see that we're in the same local area, and there's a local area business group and a business association. How about we buddy up and go together to the next thing? If you find there's a rapport, that can be a great way of building a friendship, a professional friendship too, that works for each other, rather than seeing everyone as a potential market or a potential customer for you. Think about who can be a great referrer, who can be an advocate for me, who can be a champion of me, and how can I be a champion and advocate and a referrer for them too. So, the other side of it too is that as a professional migrant or a new business owner or a founder that's starting out in Australia, how what are some of the tips that you've got around showcasing the skills and your education to be able to build trust, whether or not you're looking for that employer role, or whether or not you're looking for that trust in terms of your skills as a professional?
Yeah, I think in Asian country, especially in China, hardworking and being humble are super important. But in Australia, hardworking is important, but communicating your achievement effectively is as important as working hard. So I found for lots of people at workplace who got promoted, not because they are hardest worker, but they are the best at communicating and connecting with others.
And that takes practice, especially when you come from a culture where humility is the key, right? So big noting yourself and talking and showcasing your skills and standing on the rooftops telling everyone how great you are is just not seen as a good thing at all. And to be honest, in Australia, we do have another thing that we call the tall poppy syndrome. So this flat structure and the egalitarian sort of culture that Australians have is also one that sometimes stops even young Australian graduates and professionals from stepping up. And I see this a little bit in Business Women Australia, where we have these extraordinarily ambitious and talented, experienced, seasoned professionals and experts, and encouraging them to even, step up into a leader role and be on our podcasts and be seen and heard. There's this kind of sort of humility that's different than the cultural humility that is in your country. It's more around the not wanting to be seen to be that tall poppy sticking up and big noting ourselves. So it's really important to actually think about how to showcase in a way that you feel comfortable with as well. So what would be some of the ways to really showcase, your skills and your qualifications and what you bring to the table, Helen?
Yeah, I think publishing my own book was the first step I took. So at that time, I was thinking about my future in the finance industry and how I can position myself as a good advisor. So that's why I started writing book, and I published my first book in 2020. And but definitely, I also suffered some imposter syndrome, and I didn't really 100% believe in myself at the beginning. But publishing my book and put myself out there was the first step for me. But definitely it wasn't. I didn't really feel comfortable, and then I started creating some videos. And for the first video, I think I don't really know, it's almost 20 times for 1 minute video, and stumbling word, and did it again and again, and Still now, I don't really want to look at my own video I created, and still, it's a sure,
Well, I did your little course yesterday, actually, and I completed it yesterday. It was fantastic. I love the course. And anyone who's listening to this show, please do reach out to Helen and check our show notes and jump onto her website. She's offering a fantastic course, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I loved watching you and on the videos. I loved the videos, and I loved what you were wearing in each of the videos as well. So I was like, oh, what's the next video? Oh, what's she wearing in this one? You always look so professional, so gorgeous. So, I mean, I can't understand why you wouldn't love watching yourself on those videos, because you look fantastic and you sound fantastic as well. And your speech, I know English is your third language, but I can definitely understand, everything you're saying. And it's great having the ticker along the bottom, so for those of us who are neurodiverse and we're easily distracted, it's great because it keeps you focused on what it is that you're saying. Now, one of the other things that I'm very conscious of is that, of course, our young professionals, our migrant professionals, are not going to be in a position to write a book straight away. Unlike you, who's had decades of experience and all these qualifications, and you're ready to write a book. What I would be saying to our listeners who are emerging in their careers is get your LinkedIn profile professionally done. Get a professional headshot. We have a lot of migrant students who are connected to Business Women Australia. They're in our LinkedIn group, connecting all the time to me and to Leanne, our BWA coordinator. And one of the things I'm amazed about is how few of our young graduates out of university with top qualifications and the best results are letting themselves down by not having a very, very proficient and beautifully presented LinkedIn profile that has their professional headshot. No selfies, please. No strange photos of the back of you with a sunset, or whatever it is. It might be fine for Instagram, but definitely not on LinkedIn. I want you to have a professional photo, even if it's a photo that you've taken and just put it through an AI app and put you in professional business suit and what have you. If you can't afford a professional business suit and that look just yet, there are fantastic apps. I've just been playing around with one. Honestly, it does make me look 10 years younger, which I do love, so I can't use it. But that aside, also put in your LinkedIn profile everything you would put into a resume or a CV. So your history of how you did at university, a little summary about what you're looking for, some attributes around what you did at university, if you were involved in a committee or if you're involved in some extracurricular events, if you're an alumni program, anything that sort of gives a little picture of who you are and what you're looking for. And if you're open to work and still looking for a job, make sure that you note that on your LinkedIn profile, and it will put a little circle around your gorgeous professional headshot, open to work. And that notifies job recruiters and organizations who are looking for those to get into their graduate programs, will let people know that you're looking for a role. So LinkedIn profile absolutely is very important in showcasing your skills and education to stand out to Australian employees. The other thing with your LinkedIn is make sure that you are connecting outreach to organisations, joining the groups, joining the Business Women Australia LinkedIn group. That's free to join. Connecting to all sorts of women. If you read someone or read a book, you've read Helen Nan's book, connect to her. Say, hi, Helen, let's connect. I've read your book and I think it's great. I'd love to stay connected. Reach out to me. Lyn, hey, I love what you're doing at Business Women Australia. I hope one day to get much more involved. I'm a new graduate. I've just joined the LinkedIn group. I'd love to connect. Anyone that you meet at a networking event, make sure you connect to them. Build your network up. You need to have over 500 connections by the time you've done your second year, I think, of work. I really want to put that out there as a KPI for any of you young graduates who are listening. So that's important. LinkedIn is the key for me, and making sure that you're actually engaging with people's content, like, comment, even putting some posts out yourself that are professional posts. If you read a great article, if there's some good research, if there's something you learnt while you were at university and you'd really like to share something about what that academic wrote or that bit of research, look it up. It's probably a part of the Harvard Business Review journals and you can share it. Just putting some stuff out there gets you into that sort of process of being less worried about what people think and showcasing a little bit around what your thoughts and your interests might be as well, sort of getting over yourself a bit. Really good skills to develop. Would you agree with that, Helen?
Yeah, I completely agree. And back then, we didn't really have any LinkedIn. So I applied jobs just through the seek.com. And I think I sent almost 200 resumes before I landed my first job I really like as a financial advisor at a bank. But these days, we got so many options on social media, and just posting your LinkedIn profile and put yourself out there and connecting with others, you will have much more chance to get a job faster.
And And you're a continuous learner. I mean, look, let's face it, with all those degrees, qualifications, I mean, you did your MBA and you've continued, you just recently, went to an industry event where you're still learning more. How important is this upskilling in the competitive job market? What are your thoughts about that, Helen?
Yeah, I think continuous learning and upskilling are super important, but we often fall into a trap of focusing on learning without fully practicing what we learn. So when we choose a university major, we normally based on suggestions from family and friends. And after 3 years or more, you may find it is not really what you want. Like I finished a master degree in accounting and I values, and for me, it was a waste of time and money. And if this trend can continue after entering your workforce. So when I was working at a bank, I saw some of my colleagues studying CPA, but after 10 years, they still work as a banker, not accountants. So why we study something we don't use? Because we would like to feel fulfilled and improve ourselves. But I just want to others make sure what you study will add value to your career goals, not just focus on the study.
That's really good advice, Helen. Look, I came from a culture where you start something, you finish it.
Yeah.
And I think that doesn't always serve us, right? I think if you find that what you're studying isn't lighting your fire and you don't see yourself working in it, swap, go into something else. And look, I really, really push back on I have 4 children and they have all started along the line of something and then changed direction to find what it is that they really want to do and how they want to be. Even after, one of them actually did nearly 3 years of a literature degree at Melbourne Uni, and then has decided that they love psychology, and they started a year and a half ago as a psychologist. That's a long journey. And I have to admit, I was like, oh, wow, that's a big investment. Can't you just finish the literature degree and get into comms role? Because they're very talented with comms and writing, even if they didn't want to be a creative writer. And they went, no, that's not what I want to do. I've found my passion. I found my purpose, and I'm going to drop that and just go that, whatever I've learned, I can potentially use in my life, which they do. But I want to be a psychologist and I want to work with young children. And I'm really proud of that. One of my other children started another degree at University of Western Australia in politics, philosophy and economics, and then said, I'm not paying someone to teach me this. I can learn all this. The PowerPoints are ridiculously boring. I have more interesting conversations with my friends. I'm going to go and do something that I can't teach myself. And then read and enrolled in an architecture degree, and then moved after a year and a half at Curtin to RMIT in Melbourne and started from year 1 again as an architect student. And that's his choice. And I'm really proud of these decisions that the kids are making, because they're working out early in their lives what their passion and their purpose is. And I'm really proud of this generation actually doing that, because my generation was very much, you start a commerce degree, you finish it. Yeah. And then you end up in a job, that you don't really like. And it's really disheartening. So good on you guys. Those of you who are listening and you're chopping and changing around a bit, it might be annoying your parents, but just stick with what you need and what you're an adult and you've got your whole life ahead of you. So, I really think that's important. And the continuous learning never stops. As Helen said, she's never stopped learning. She's still building her knowledge, her expertise, and sharing it along the way now, as this amazing expert and knowledge expert in her field. I did a coaching qualification, a certificate in and a diploma in coaching and mentoring just a few years ago. And it just changed my whole way of doing my management consulting and how I work, even how I parent potentially too. So even at this age, in my 50s, I'm learning more and never stop learning. So tell me, what's the best time to start with wealth creation? I mean, you're a certified financial planner. I've just done this great course, and I can't wait to do the next one, by the way. I'm really looking forward to enrolling in the higher level, deeper dive. Tell me, when's the best time to start for young migrant professionals who are in Australia to build their wealth?
Okay, I say best time to start was 20 years ago, and the second best time to start is today.
Always start right now. If
Right
you haven't
now,
already
yes.
started, start right now. So what are the main challenges for migrants facing in Australia when it comes to wealth creation, and what tips have you got for them?
Yeah, there are lots of challenges. So as a migrant myself, I understand the financial challenges a migrant face. For the migrants, you may not have enough retirement savings because you started late. Starting 10 years later than those born in Australia will end up less than half of the superannuation at retirement. So in Australia, normally people start working since age 14 and 15. And if they end up $1 million in superannuation at retirement, you might end up less than $500,000 because of compounding effects. And also the other challenge is you don't really fully understand Australian financial system, including banking and taxation, superannuation, and government benefits. And also we protecting ourselves and loved ones and assets are also really important because we don't really have extended family in Australia and don't have much support group available in Australia. So just be prepared for unforeseen circumstances such as injury, sickness, and disability for secure your financial future. But the most difficult part is you don't really know what you don't know.
That's right. And that's where really getting that information from someone like you is really important, because the earlier you get that advice, look, you know, we didn't have compulsory superannuation when I was a kid, and I look at my own children, you know, and they're like you say, they've been working, you know, most of them started in fast food or IGA or supermarkets, you know, as students, and very early. I think Ronnie, my number 3 child, came home, wanted an iPhone when they were 13, and I said, well, only people with jobs can afford phones. And the next thing, she comes back with a letter from IGA asking for parental approval because she was 13 years and 9 months, which is the youngest age you can get a job. And she said, now I've got a job, I'm going to save up for my iPhone. And I was amazed, you know. So it's just wonderful to see, you know, from that job, then her superannuation starts. And, you know, the earlier you start, the better. But, you know, I don't think many of our young workers are even looking at where they've got, you know, their super things. They're just taking the default, whatever's in the fund. So it's really great that, you know, these sorts of things are the sorts of things that you're really wanting to share and teach people, because one of the things that I love about you, Helen, is you have this mission to make financial advice accessible to everyone, because it is expensive to go to a financial planner, isn't it?
Yeah, it is expensive, and lots of people don't even know what financial advisors do. And imagining all rich people seek financial advice, but it is not true.
That's right. You know, financial advice is something that I think a lot of people are scared because they think it's going to cost a lot of money or it's for rich people. So what? Let's look at before we go on your final career reflection. I think we'll finish with that one, but I'd really like to hear about this online course and why you created the course.
In Australia, I think less than 10% of the population receive ongoing financial advice. And lots of people don't even know what financial advisors do. And there are some trust issues and affordability. And lots of people think they are not ready to seek advice. So in the last 13 years as a financial advisor, I've seen and learned what works and what doesn't. And I've seen lots of mistakes, including myself and others, which can completely avoided with the right guidance. So I created this course just to show others how they can build their wealth and how to avoid these pitfalls. And just want to share my knowledge and experience.
Yeah, it's really quite an easy introduction. I really loved it, and I'm looking forward to the next course. What it got me to do was really think about, how to budget, and the templates and all the checklists and things that you've got inside the course are really useful. You've got, where to go and get things, but then actually inside after the videos, there's all the templates and everything in there. It's just extraordinary. It's all in the one place. It's so easy to do. So I totally recommend anyone who's listening this, whether you're a migrant professional or you're an Australian resident or no matter where you are, just jump on and register for this course. Look, what do you think is the biggest benefit that participants would get from doing the online course?
Yeah, I think they can learn how to manage their money effectively and how to start, because lots of people don't really know where to start. And this course introduced the power of compound interest and how they can start small and automate their savings. So in Australia, lots of people have that kind of zero net mindset. So what that means? If they make $1,000 per month and they spend $1,000, nothing left over.
That creep actually happens. I was thinking about that when I was doing your course, and I was reflecting on, our journey as parents. As our income rose, our spending rose. Our holidays got more adventurous and to international places. And to be honest, I think that we probably still could have done that while still having some automated savings. I love your tips around automating, having that starting with an automation, because if you don't see it come into your bank account and you use your bucket system that you've got, and I love the fact you use the same terms as I do, because when we finally got to the point where we were like, we've got to do something about this, and we set up the fun account and the savings account and the various accounts and had it automatically going so we didn't see it. It was so powerful, and you show everyone very clearly in this course how to do that. So it's not rocket science, it's very easy, and Helen has got this beautiful, simple, really layered approach each course. So that in the first course there's only 7 modules?
Yes, 6 modules.
6 modules. It's so doable, and Helen said to me, a while ago, have you finished the course? And I was like, I haven't got time. And then she said, it literally only takes 20 minutes each module, even less, because I had actually done quite a lot of it. So it took me a lot quicker to go through it, but it reminded me of a few things that I need to work through with Simon. So it's very empowering. I love it. How to manage your money, where to start. And this concept of compound interest means that if you're doing it now, you are going to benefit in the long term. Even someone like me, my 50s, God, I'm expecting to live to my 90s or hundreds. Give me, I've got 30, 40, maybe even 50 years. Who knows? I might be one of those ladies that they roll out on the front of the West Australian that talks about my great long life and why I lived so long. And it's because I laugh a lot. Now, I think, is there anything else we need to cover off? Because I do want to have a little reflection as we finish. Helen, I'm really keen to know, what do you wish you knew as a younger professional about achieving career success? Knowing now, looking back, what would you say to your younger self?
I would like to say, don't settle for less and do what you love. So when I look back my career, and there are several times I could have taken completely different directions, but I remained persistent, following my own dreams in the finance industry. And definitely it's not really easy role and easy job. And lots of financial advisors left the industry in the last 3 or 4 years. But yeah, definitely you follow your own dreams. And when you change your career or start your own business or make a big life decisions, there are well-meaning friends or family will advise you stick to a safe and comfortable environments. But yeah, those advice would have good intentions, but they can be an obstacle for your success and keep you reaching your potential. So just follow your dreams, and maybe one day you will be really successful, or even not. At least you tried. Disappointment is temporary, but regret lasts forever.
That's so true, Helen. What an inspiration. Thank you so much for being on the show. For anyone listening, is there anything else you'd like to share with them?
Yeah, actually, people can access my online course for free on my website, so compoundfreedom.au. So I say it one more time, compoundfreedom.au, and they can just take a first step for better life through learning something from the online course.
That's brilliant. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your enthusiasm for managing your money and providing such an easy way to start that journey. So for those of you who want to do the online course, what a great offer, a free access to Helen's online course, and you'll find it on compoundfreedom.com.au. And it's also
.au. Just the compoundfreedom.au.
Compoundfreedom.au, and
Yes,
it'll be in our show notes. Jump onto our show notes and there'll be a link through. You'll also find Helen Nan on the Businesswomen Australia directory. And if you Google Helen Nan Compound Freedom, she comes up. Her website comes up. It's well SEO'd. So good stuff, Helen. And for those of you who might be members of Businesswomen Australia, we're also launching the course again. This is a bit of a soft launch. We're doing another launch on the 6th of February. And we're actually going to be online, and we'll have a bit of a Q&A on that one, 10 o'clock West Australian time. That'll be 1 o'clock East Coast time, Sydney, Melbourne. Do your daylight savings conversions, wherever time zone you might be. You can actually register for that online webinar where we can get to chat to Helen and have a little bit of an interactive, immersive conversation with her in February. Register for that and you'll get the Zoom link. You don't need to be a member of Businesswomen Australia to register for that as well. So you'll find that on our Businesswomen Australia calendar. If you're not already subscribed to our podcast show, please like, subscribe and share. And we would love you to join Businesswomen Australia if you're not already a member. Thank you so much, Helen. It's great
to have you.
We'll have you again soon.
You have been listening to the Businesswomen Australia podcast show. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode and gained some valuable insights to empower you on your journey. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe to stay updated in our latest episodes. And if you're not already a member of Businesswomen Australia, what are you waiting for? Head to our website today and join so that you can connect with a thriving community of inspiring women across Australia. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.